Hey Switchheads, how's it going? Kanan here, and welcome to my review of No Reload Heroes Enhanced Edition, a multiplayer top-down action-adventure game. And don't forget to hit the link down below to take you to our community Discord, where we do loads of different streams each and every week. But for now, let's find out whether No Reload Heroes Enhanced Edition can make it onto the Wall of Fame or the Wall of Shame, or perhaps somewhere in the middle. Gameplay. From what I can gather from the story, you try to make a big machine thing and something goes wrong and it turns evil and sets upon lots of enemies to destroy you, and it's your task, I suppose, to try to destroy it by climbing different levels to, well, destroy it. So getting into the game, you basically can move around, you can aim as a twin stick shooter with the right and move with the left stick, firing your weapon with the right trigger and kind of like a teleporty type thing with the left triggers. And then you get like a little interaction button with A, where you can unlock and open doors and the like. Each level will see you going through it, blasting away with your weapons, which as you progress you can pick up better weapons and also upgrades to do more damage. But beware, every time you get hit, you lose your upgrade pips. It's worth mentioning that apart from these, you also can pick up different weapons that are dropped by the enemy, or you get from these chests, I suppose they are, and you could end up with from grenade launchers right through to shotguns to homing missiles, which kind of make the game a little bit too easy because you don't really need to concentrate on what you're firing on then. The weapon upgrades are kind of hit and miss because some of them really are useful and some of them, to my experience, are really bad and you regret picking them up. Additionally to all of this, you also can pick up health drops, which obviously put up your health. Each enemy also drops these XP diamond things and you pick them up, and every time you go up level you kind of get to choose whether it's multiplayer or single player out of 2 upgrades, additional damage, additional speed and things like that. And that's kind of a nice little thing there. Not so much in single player, as you're just free to pick whichever one you want, but in multiplayer it kind of just adds an extra dimension of you have to agree on what you want to go for, or at least enough of you do anyway. Traversing the levels will see you going from level to level, taking down enemies as you go along, opening additional doors, and then there's these purple doors that have one actual enemy in, which is one of the normal enemies, but it's a hyped up bigger version of it, and you can get multiple ones of these in each level. And I didn't really like these, they were a bit underwhelming for my liking. The game handles quite well and the actual controls are quite intuitive, and I did actually quite like them. The game after a while takes on kind of almost a grindy feeling to it when you're playing on your own. I will say though that each time you have to restart the game, the actual levels shift around and all the rooms are not entirely in the same place as they were before, which kind of does help adding to that longevity of the game. It's just a shame that the levels are more or less the same as each other with different variations, with the enemies looking different but kind of almost feeling the same. But then push this into multiplayer. For me, 2-player, me and my wife, we really thoroughly enjoyed this. In fact, I gave the game to my wife to try out first, and like myself, she enjoyed it but felt there's a multiplayer game here, let's do that instead. Everything practically works the same and it's essentially the same game, but in multiplayer it just adds that extra depth that you need, enjoyment. It doesn't feel so grindy once you're doing that. And I think if people buy this game, I think definitely that is what the actual developers were aiming for, and that's definitely got to be what you're got to be playing it for. There is another mode called Zone Contest, which is basically pitting you against other players instead of playing with each other in co-op. Local, by the way, and basically this mode sees you trying to take the middle of the actual area or arena and holding it for as long as you can. It ultimately was okay, but it also ultimately wasn't what we came for. Graphically, it had a very nice look to it. It was very bright, colourful. I mean, it definitely was bright and colourful. And I definitely liked the way that each character was a different colour, and a significant different colour, so that you can see your actual character and not get mixed up with the other characters. Ultimately, the actual areas kind of all looked samey as you progressed, with just different palette to them. But yet again, in multiplayer, this didn't really bother us that much, as we were having too much fun playing together. I think I just noticed it a lot more in single player, because obviously I was on my own and literally had no one to talk to or interact with. The audio was okay, the actual sounds of the blasts and different weapons were different, and the actual enemies sounded differently as well, with most of it having like a mechanical clunkiness to them all. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the soundtrack, but it was just a bit plain for my liking. But it was in the background, so it didn't really bother us, and it didn't really bother me playing single player either. The good. The multiplayer experience is definitely where this game is at, and it definitely works really well. I like the fact that there was a good variance in weaponry that you can pick up, and I like the fact that they thought about it and made each character really different colour-wise. The bad. The recoil on some of the weapons felt really bad, like knocking you really back. I don't know whether it was intended to do that, but it just felt a bit weird to me. In single player, it felt definitely a bit grindy at some points, and further on that you went in, it definitely felt that even more. And the areas looking a bit samey didn't really help for playing it in single player either. The score. This is definitely a 3 out of 5 and a high 3 out of 5. You should go out and buy it if you like this sort of game and you're going to play it definitely in multiplayer at some point. And my alternative this time is going to be Enter the Gungeon. Definitely the same sort of game, and I own it, and it's definitely worth picking up because it's also a great little multiplayer type top-down shooter. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. That's where they belong. And don't forget to join us in Discord, our community Discord, where we do multiple streamings during the week and also a vlogcast, because life is better when we switch together.